I slammed the door behind me, my heart pounding like a jackhammer in my chest, the metallic tang of blood on my lip from where I'd bitten it too hard. "Evan, what the hell have you done?" Brandon's voice cracked over the phone, raw and accusing, as if I'd just shattered his entire world. And, in a way, I had. But it wasn't the betrayal he thought. It was the truth I'd buried for years, clawing its way out in the worst possible moment, leaving us both bleeding on the floor of that godforsaken apartment. That night started innocently enough, or at least that's what I told myself as I wiped the grease from my hands on an old rag, staring at the mangled lock on Mrs. Hargrove's back door. She was my neighbor in this sleepy corner of Cincinnati, Ohio, a widow in her 70s with a smile like weathered apple pie and a habit of calling me for every leaky faucet or squeaky hinge since I'd moved into the duplex next door 3 years ago. "Evan, honey, you're a lifesaver," she'd coo, pressing a Tupperware of her famous Cincinnati chili into my hands. I fixed things for her because it was easy. Woodworking was in my blood, passed down from my dad before the mill laid him off and the bottle took him instead. It kept my hands busy and my mind from wandering to places it shouldn't, like the empty side of the bed or the what-ifs that haunted me at 2 a.m. It was a muggy Friday in late summer, the kind where the air hangs heavy with the scent of cut grass and distant rain, and the cicadas buzzed like they owned the block. Mrs. Hargrove had texted me that afternoon. "Evan, dear, my friend from out of town is here, and the lock on the guest room door is stuck again. Could you swing by? He's a bit of a klutz with tools." I chuckled at that. Klutzy guests were her specialty, and grabbed my toolbox from the garage. My shift at the hardware store had just ended, and all I wanted was a cold beer and the Bengals game on TV, but saying no to her felt like kicking a puppy. When I knocked on her front door, it swung open almost immediately, and there he was, Brandon, all 6 feet of him filling the frame like he'd stepped out of one of those craft beer ads, with tousled dark hair that begged to be ruffled and eyes the color of storm clouds over the Ohio River. He wore a faded University of Michigan hoodie, rival territory, I noted with a smirk, and jeans that hugged his legs just right, the kind that made you do a double take without meaning to. "You must be the lock whisperer," he said, extending a hand that was warm and calloused, like he'd spent summers hauling lumber or something equally rugged. His grip lingered a second too long, and I felt that stupid spark, the one I always ignored because in places like ours, sparks like that could burn your whole life down. "Evan," I said, pulling my hand back a beat late. "And you are Brandon, Mrs. Hargrove's godson, technically, but more like the stray she picked up in college." He grinned, and it hit me like a gut punch, easy, disarming, the kind of smile that made you forget why you were holding your breath. "She's out at bingo. Said you'd know what to do with this damn door." I followed him through the house, the familiar creak of her floorboards under my boots, past the framed photos of her late husband in his army uniform and the kitschy cross-stitched "Home Sweet Home" on the wall. The guest room was at the end of the hall, a cozy nook with a quilted bedspread and a window overlooking her wildflower garden. The lock was a vintage brass number, finicky as hell, jammed from years of humidity and neglect. Brandon leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me work with an intensity that made my neck prickle. "So, what brings a Michigan guy to Cincinnati?" I asked, probing the tumblers with a pick, trying to keep it light. Small talk was safe. It kept the air from thickening. He shrugged, but there was a shadow in his eyes, like he'd carried it across state lines. "Visiting family. Or what's left of it. Mom passed last year, cancer, and Aunt Hargrove's the only one who still treats me like I matter." His voice dipped, rough around the edges, and I glanced up, seeing the crack in his armor for the first time. "I'm sorry," I murmured, twisting the screwdriver until I felt the give. "Lost my dad to the bottle a while back." It's like they leave holes you can't patch. Brandon nodded. Slow, like he was chewing on the words. Yeah, holes. He pushed off the frame and crouched beside me, close enough that I caught the faint scent of his cologne, cedar, and something citrusy, clean and alive. Hey, you any good with hearts? Mine's been stuck for years. I laughed, but it came out choked, because damn if that wasn't the most honest pickup line I'd ever heard. Or maybe it wasn't a line at all. The lock clicked open then, smooth as butter, and I stood, brushing off my knees. There, good as new, his eyes met mine, holding steady. Thanks, Evan. Oh, you won. Beer on the porch. I should have said no. I had the game waiting, a six-pack in the fridge. Solitude that kept me safe. But his smile tugged at something deep, a loneliness I'd armored over with work boots and bad jokes. Yeah, I said. One beer. The porch was our undoing from the start. Rickety wooden steps under a sagging awning, strung with fairy lights misses. Hargrove had put up for Christmas and never taken down. We cracked open bottles from her cooler, the condensation slick against our palms, and talked like we'd known each other forever. Brandon was a graphic designer from Ann Arbor, freelancing for ad agencies that treated him like disposable code. They want my ideas, but not my face, he said, staring into the foam. Not when it's like this. He tapped his temple, and I knew without asking the weight of being gay in a world that still whispered slurs like prayers. I nodded, sipping slow. Try being bi in Ohio. It's like playing both sides and losing anyway. It slipped out. The confession I'd only made to my mirror and a therapist I couldn't afford anymore. But with him, it felt right, like exhaling after holding your breath underwater. Bi? His eyebrows shot up, but not in judgment, curiosity, maybe relief. Huh. Explains the steady hands. He clinked his bottle against mine, and we laughed. The sound echoing down the quiet street where pickup trucks idled in driveways and American flags fluttered from poles. As the stars pricked the sky, the talk turned deeper, the beer loosening tongues we'd both tied in knots. He told me about his ex, a guy named Tyler who'd promised forever then bailed when Brandon's mom got sick, too scared of the mess. He said it was too much baggage, Brandon whispered, voice thick. Like love's a carry-on. I shared about my last almost thing. A co-worker at the store who'd flirted over paint swatches until his fiancée walked in, turning it all to ash. Ghosted me with a no hard feelings text. As if the air between us hummed, charged like the storm brewing over the river. When our knees brushed, neither pulled away. Evan, he said, soft, turning to face me fully. His hand found mine on the step, fingers interlacing tentative. Electric. I froze, heart slamming, but then I leaned in, our lips meeting in a kiss that tasted like hops and hope, slow, searching, the kind that rewires your soul. We broke apart breathless, foreheads touching, and for a moment, the world was just us, two guys on a porch in the heartland, stealing a sliver of something real. Stay, he murmured. Just tonight. I did. We moved inside to the guest room, the door clicking shut behind us, not locked this time, but sealed with a promise neither of us voiced. Clothes shed in whispers, hands exploring with the reverence of survivors. It wasn't fire, it was embers, warm and steady, building to something that scared me more than any rejection. In the dark, tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender detergent, he traced the scars on my knuckles, old fights with my own reflection, and said, "You're not alone anymore." I believed him. God help me. Morning came too soon, sunlight slanting through lace curtains, painting his skin in gold. We woke to the smell of coffee. Mrs. Hargrove humming in the kitchen like she hadn't noticed the extra mug in the sink. "Boys," she called. "Pancakes." Brandon squeezed my hand under the table, his eyes saying this could be it. And I let myself dream, for 5 whole minutes, of a life beyond fixing locks and hiding heartaches. But dreams in Ohio have a way of cracking under pressure. That afternoon, as I was leaving for my shift, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Tyler. Heard Brandon's in town. Tell him I said hi, and that I'm sorry." My stomach dropped. Tyler? The ex? How the hell did he have my number? I showed it to Brandon later that evening. We swung by my place with takeout from Skyline Chili, 3 ways piled high with cheese and onions. The ultimate comfort food. We were sprawled on my couch, feet tangled, when I pulled up the message. His face drained of color. Fort pausing midair. What the fuck? How does he even? He must have gotten it from Mrs. Hargrove or something, I said, trying to play it cool. But jealousy gnawed at me like termites in old wood. Old flames die hard. Huh? Brandon set his bowl down, jaw tight. It's not like that. Tyler's ancient history. Manipulative prick who. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. I opened it to find Tyler himself on the stoop, tall, blonde, with that all-American quarterback build and a smile polished like a used car lot. "Evan, I'm Tyler. Brandon's friend from back home." The word hung loaded, and Brandon appeared behind me, shoulders squared like he was bracing for a hit. "What you doing here?" Brandon's voice was ice, but Tyler just stepped inside uninvited, carrying a 6-pack like a peace offering. "Heard you were visiting. Thought we could talk." For old time's sake. His eyes flicked to me, appraising, and I felt like a third wheel in my own living room. The air thickened with unspoken barbs. They argued in low tones while I busied myself in the kitchen, heart twisting as snippets floated through. "You left me when I needed you most." I was scared. Bran. Scared of what? Of loving a guy who might break? It escalated fast, Brandon accusing Tyler of stalking. Tyler firing back about Brandon's new toy being a rebound. Me. I wanted to vanish, but instead, I stepped in, voice steady. "Guys, take it outside." "This isn't." Tyler whirled on me, eyes blazing. "You don't get it, do you? Brandon and I, we were endgame. He just doesn't see it yet." Then, the bomb. Ask him about the ring he kept after I proposed. The one he couldn't throw away. Brandon went still, face ashen. "A ring? Proposed?" The room spun. We'd shared everything last night. Scars, fears, futures, and he'd never mentioned that. Lies by omission cut deepest, and this one sliced straight to the bone. "Evan, it's not," Brandon started, but I was already grabbing my keys. "Get out. Both of you." The door slammed, echoing like a gunshot. I drove aimlessly, tires humming over the I-75 overpass, the city lights blurring through tears I refused to shed. How could I have been so stupid? One night, one kiss, and I'd handed him my raw edges, only for him to dangle a ghost between us. Days blurred into a haze of work and whiskey, nights sanding tabletops in my garage until my hands blistered. Days stocking shelves at the store where customers chattered about fantasy football like the world wasn't crumbling. Mrs. Hargrove knocked once, eyes worried. "That boy's hurting too. Evan." Give him a chance to explain, but explanations felt like excuses, and I was done being the fool. Then came the storm, literal and otherwise. Thunder rattled my windows that Friday, rain lashing like it wanted to wash Cincinnati clean. My phone lit up with Brandon's name, and against every instinct, I answered. "What?" "Evan, please, meet me at the river. The overlook by the Purple People Bridge. I need to tell you everything." His voice broke, ragged, and something in me cracked too. The bridge was neutral ground, a spot where joggers and lovers crossed into Kentucky, leaving Ohio's ghosts behind. I went. The wind whipped off the water, carrying the distant hum of barges. And there he was, huddled under a dripping pavilion, hoodie soaked through. "You came," he said, relief flooding his face. "Don't make me regret it." I crossed my arms, rain streaking my jacket. He took a breath, deep as the Ohio's current. "Tyler proposed 6 months after Mom died. I said yes because grief makes you stupid. Cling to anything that feels solid. But 2 weeks later, I called it off. He was controlling, jealous of my work, my friends, everything. The ring? I kept it as a reminder not to settle, not to let fear lock me in. I searched his eyes, hunting for the lie, but all I saw was pain. Mirror back. Why didn't you tell me? Fear. Same damn reason. You're the first guy in years who made me feel seen. Not fixed or saved. Just Evan. I didn't want to scare you off with my baggage. Thunder cracked overhead, and I stepped closer, the space between us shrinking. You think I don't have my own? My family's Catholic old school. Dad's grave still has a Bible on it. Coming out would kill my mom. But with you, it felt possible. His hand found mine again. Rain slick, but sure. It is. If we fight for it. We kiss there, fierce and unyielding, the storm raging around us like it approved. But peace never lasts in stories like ours. As we pulled apart, headlights pierced the downpour, a truck idling at the lot's edge. Tyler. He'd followed, or waited, his face twisted in the glow. "You son of a bitch," he snarled, storming over. I knew you'd run back to him. Brandon stepped in front of me, protective. "Leave. Tyler." "It's over." Has been. But Tyler wasn't done. He lunged, not at Brandon, but at me, shoving hard enough to send me stumbling into the railing. Pain flared in my ribs, sharp and hot. "Stay away from him. You small-town hack. He deserves better." The world narrowed to red, anger, protectiveness, the raw need to shield what was mine. I swung without thinking, fist connecting with his jaw in a crack that echoed over the thunder. He reeled, blood trickling from his lip, and for a heartbeat, we all froze. Then sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called it in. Tyler spat, eyes wild. "This isn't over. I'll tell everyone, your family, his aunt, the whole goddamn town." He peeled out in his truck, tires spinning gravel, and Brandon pulled me close, trembling. "You okay?" I nodded, adrenaline crashing. "Yeah, but he's right about one thing. This isn't over." The cops came, took statements under the pavilion's fluorescent buzz. Assault charges hovered like storm clouds. But Tyler declined to press, mumbled something about not worth it, and we were free to go. Brandon drove me home, the wipers slapping rhythmically, silence heavy between us. At my door, he hesitated. "Evan, stay," I said, echoing his words from that first night. He did, and we held each other through the night, whispers weaving promises against the dark. But secrets have a way of festering, and Tyler's threat lingered like bad chili. The next week was a tightrope walk, days blending into shifts at the store where fluorescent lights hummed like accusations, and nights where Brandon's presence in my bed felt like borrowed time. We'd fall asleep tangled, his breath steady against my neck, but I'd jolt awake at every creak of the house, half expecting Tyler's truck in the driveway. Mrs. Hargrove sensed the shift, pressing lemon bars into our hands with knowing winks. "Love's like chili. Boy's spicy, but it sticks if you let it." Her wisdom was folksy gold, but it couldn't ward off the gathering storm. Brandon threw himself into job hunting, Remote gigs that could pull him south if things got real. "An arbor's too cold without you," he'd say, kissing my temple over morning coffee, the kind brewed strong with Folgers and a splash of milk. I'd smile, but doubt nod. Was I enough? A hardware clerk with calluses and a closet door bolted shut? My mom called once, her voice crackling from the landline in her Kettering bungalow. "Evan, you sound off. Honey, everything all right?" I lied smooth as varnish. "Just work, Ma," and hung up before the guilt choked me. Then the letters started. Unsigned, slipped under my door or left in Brandon's rental car. "He's playing you. Ask about the abortion." My stomach twisted reading it the first time. The word scrawled in block letters that screamed Tyler. Abortion? Brandon had no kids. No exes with that kind of history. I confronted him that night, paper crumpling in my fist as we sat on the porch steps, fairy lights flickering like hesitant fireflies. "What's this mean?" I thrust it at him, voice sharper than intended. His face crumpled, color draining like ink in water. "Evan, shit. It's not what you think." "Then what?" "Because right now, it feels like you're hiding a whole damn novel." He rubbed his temples, eyes distant. "Before Tyler, there was Sarah. College. We were young, stupid, thought we were in love. She got pregnant. I panicked, pushed her toward. You know, she did it, and it broke us. Broke me. Tyler knew. Used it to keep me hooked. Like leverage. The revelation landed like a punch, stealing my air. Not because of the past. Hell, who hadn't stumbled, but the weight of it. The child that never was. The ghost Brandon carried alone. Why didn't you say? We promised no walls. Fear again, he admitted, voice raw, of you seeing me as the villain. The guy who chose wrong. I pulled him close. Rain from last week's storm still scenting the air. You're not. You're human. Messy. Like me. We held on. The misunderstanding dissolving into something deeper, trust forged in fire. But Tyler's poison seeped further. Whispers at the store. A co-worker asking slyly if I was seeing that city boy, her eyes darting like she'd heard tales. Cincinnati was small. Sins amplified through church potlucks and barbershop gossip. The breaking point came mid-October, leaves turning the hillsides to flame as the Bengals geared up for playoffs. Brandon and I had plans, a drive to the Coney Island amusement park across the river, cotton candy and Ferris wheel kisses, a taste of normalcy. But as we merged onto the highway, his phone buzzed incessantly. He silenced it, jaw clenched, until the third call misses. Hargrove, voice trembling through the speaker. Brandon, honey, come quick. Tyler's here, stirring trouble. We race back, the river a muddy blur below. At her house, Tyler paced the lawn like a caged wolf, neighbors peeking from curtains. Tell them, he bellowed as we pulled up. Tell them how you lied, how you used me, Mrs. Hargrove stood on the porch, arms crossed, her slight frame a fortress. Tyler Bradshaw, I've known you since you were in diapers. Accurate age, but he zeroed in on Brandon, face contorted. You told Evan about the ring, the proposal, but not how you cheated on me with that barista from Coffee Bean. Right before you called it off, the word cheated hung like smoke, choking the air. Neighbors murmured, phones out, Ohio justice via TikTok. Brandon staggered, eyes wide. That's not. I never. I turned to him, betrayal blooming cold in my chest. Cheated? After everything. It was one kiss. Evan at a party. Drunk and stupid. I ended it immediately. Tyler twisted it to keep me guilty, but the damage was done. Flashes popped. Videos capturing the raw unraveling. Tyler's accusations. Brandon's pleas. My silence as I backed away. The weight of public eyes turning private pain to spectacle. I need space, I muttered, fleeing to my truck, engine roaring as I peeled out. That night, alone in my garage, I smashed a half-finished birdhouse with a hammer, splinters flying like accusations. Why did love always come laced with knives? I drove to a dive bar on Vine Street, the kind with sticky floors and jukebox country anthems, nursing a whiskey that burned less than the lies. A guy at the end of the bar, rough around the edges, flannel and 5 o'clock shadow, caught my eye, slid over with a line about lost dogs. For a heartbeat, I considered it escape, numbness, the easy out. But his touch felt wrong, foreign, and I shoved cash on the bar, bolting into the night. Home was no sanctuary. Brandon's text lit my phone like flares. Please. It's bullshit. Let me explain. I ghosted him, burrowing into work, sanding edges smooth while my heart splintered. Mom showed up unannounced a few days later, her sensible sedan parked crooked in the drive. Evan Michael, what's eating you? She bustled in with a casserole, green bean and ground beef, the scent of home clashing with my chaos. We sat at the kitchen table, Formica scarred from years of family dinners. It's a guy? Ma. Complicated. Her eyes softened, lines deepening like riverbeds. Love always is. Your father. He had his demons, but he loved fierce. Don't let fear steal yours. Tears pricked, damn onions or something, and I confessed in fragments, the spark, the secrets, Tyler's venom. She listened. No judgment, just a hand on mine. Bring him around. Let me see this heartbreaker. It was a lifeline, her quiet acceptance cracking my walls. But Tyler wasn't finished. The next morning, a package arrived, no sender, just a USB drive rattling inside. Plugged into my laptop, it played grainy video of Brandon and the barista, locked in that fateful kiss. Time-stamped months ago. Overlaid audio, Tyler's voice. Mocking, see? He's poison. Rage-boiled, hot and righteous. I stormed to Mrs. Hargrove's, finding Brandon there, packing his bag with defeated shoulders. Evan, save it. I thrust the drive at him. Is this real? He watched, face crumpling. Yes, but it's nothing. A mistake I owned. Then wise Tyler got it. Blackmail. Worse. Brandon sank onto the bed, head in hands. He's my brother. Half-brother. Same dad. Different moms. Found out last year. After Mom died, letters in her attic. He's hated me since. Twisted our history to punish. The twist hit like whiplash. Family. The deepest cut. No wonder the obsession. The refusal to let go. Jesus. Bran. Why carry that alone? Didn't want pity. Wanted you. We embraced then. Fierce. The USB clattering to the floor. But resolution felt fragile. A truce in no man's land. Tyler's final play came that weekend. At the Harvest Festival in Over the Rhine, booths of pumpkin pie and hay rides. The air crisp with cider and wood smoke. Brandon and I wandered hand in hand, stealing moments amid the crowd, until Tyler emerged from the throng, flanked by two buddies, faces hard as flint. Family reunion, he sneered, blocking our path. Evan, you should know, Brandon's not just a cheater. He's the reason our dad's in jail. Push him to drink. Stole money for his art school dreams. Lies? Mostly. Brandon later swore the theft was a loan. Repaid. The drinking predestined. But in that moment, under the festival lights, doubt seated. The buddies grabbed Brandon's arms. Tyler swinging wild, fists flying in a blur of flannel and fury. I dove in, tackling one, elbow connecting with a nose in a sickening crunch. Chaos erupted, screams, Security hauling us apart. The crowd a blur of pointing fingers. Cops again, assault 2.0. Mutual this time. At the station. Fluorescent hell. Brandon and I sat separated by plexiglass, his eyes pleading through the divide. I love you, he mouthed. Fight. But as they booked Tyler, his parting shot landed. Check the letters. Evan. The real ones. Ask Aunt Hargrove. I did. Later that night, rain pattering on her roof as she handed over a shoebox yellowed with age. Inside, correspondence from their father. Prison scrawls confessing regrets, blaming no one but himself. And a note to Brandon. Son, forgive your brother. Blood's thicker than hate. Tyler had forged the rest, twisted truths to isolate. Dawn broke as I drove to the station, bailing Brandon out with my savings, worth every penny. We collapsed at home, exhaustion binding us tighter. No more secrets, I whispered. Promise, he murmured, kiss sealing it. But peace was prelude. The real storm brewed in family ties, and Tyler's arrest, aggravated assault, ripped open old wounds. He called from lockup, voice broken over the line. Brandon answered. Help me, Bran. Please. Mercy or madness. The decision loomed. A chasm. Winter crept in like an uninvited guest, frosting the Ohio windows and turning breaths to ghosts. Brandon and I hunkered down, building a routine that felt dangerously like home. Mornings with coffee and crosswords. His sketches scattered on my table like confetti. Evenings walking the neighborhood. Hands brushing in the cold, stealing warmth from each other. The festival brawl made local news since he dusted up at Fall Fest, but faded fast, buried under Black Friday sales and OSU Michigan hype. Tyler's arraignment loomed, a December date circled in red on my calendar, but we pushed it aside, focusing on us. Still, the call came on a Tuesday, snow flurrying outside as I shoveled the drive. Brandon answered in the kitchen, voice muffled through the glass. Yeah, he's here. No, I can't. Pause. Because you're poison. Ty. He hung up, face pale, and I dropped the shovel, snow crunching under my boots as I rushed in. Was that him? Brandon nodded, sinking into a chair. Begging again. Says if I don't vouch for him at the hearing, he'll spill everything to Mom, to your family, the press if he has to. His laugh was bitter. Like anyone's lining up for that circus. The threat slithered in, coiling tight. My coming out was a fragile thing, whispered only to Mom in her kitchen. Her hug fierce, but her warning sterner. The world's not kind yet. Evan, protect your heart. If Tyler dragged us through the mud, by guy and brawl with jealous exes, it'd splash back. Neighbors side-eyeing, jobs jeopardized. Brandon's freelance was tenuous, one scandal, and clients ghosted. We ignore it, I said, pulling him up, hands framing his face. He's bluffing. Locked up. He's got no teeth, but doubt festered. That night, as we lay in bed, his body tense against mine, he confessed more. Tyler's not all monster. When we were kids, before I knew he was kin, he was the big brother I idolized. Taught me to ride a bike, covered for my screw-ups. Then Dad's mess. It warped him. Empathy tugged. Unwelcome. Blood's a bitch, I murmured. Doesn't mean you owe him your soul. He kissed me then, slow and deep, an anchor in the drift. You're my soul now. Christmas loomed, a gauntlet of tinsel and tradition. Mom invited us to Kettering, turkey and pierogies, her Polish roots shining through. Bring the boy, she insisted over the phone, voice warm. Brandon hesitated, old scars itching, but I saw the want in his eyes, normalcy, acceptance. We went. The drive was storybook, fields dusted white, radio crooning Bing Crosby, until we pulled in her driveway. lights twinkling like promises. Mom enveloped Brandon in a hug that smelled of cinnamon and Chanel No. 5. Chattering about his art like he'd hung the moon. Dad's absence echoed in the empty chair, but we filled it with laughter, Brandon charming her with tales of Michigan winters and failed gingerbread houses. Under the tree, amid crumpled wrapping paper, he gifted me a carved wooden keychain, our initials intertwined, smooth as hope. For all the locks we've broken, he whispered. I gave him a leather-bound sketchbook, pages begging for dreams. That night, in the guest room with its lacy curtains, we made love quietly, reverent, the house creaking approval around us. But joys of tease and dramas like ours. New Year's Eve brought the hammer. We were at a low-key party in Over the Rhine, loft apartment pulsing with indie rock and cheap champagne, when Brandon's phone died buzzing. A voicemail from the courthouse. Tyler, out on bail courtesy of some uncle's checkbook, demanding a meet. Family only, the message snarled. We bailed early, driving through fireworks blooming over the river, colors fracturing on the windshield. At home, Brandon paced, a caged tiger. I have to go. End this. Alone? Hell no. I grabbed my coat. We're in it. The meet was at a neutral spot, a Perkins diner off I-71, fluorescent-lit haven of pie and regret. Tyler slid into the booth across from us. Gone in jail, orange traded for jeans and a hoodie, eyes hollowed by whatever demons he'd wrestled in lockup. Thanks for coming, he muttered. No smirk this time. Brandon's voice was steel. Talk. Tyler leaned in, voice low. I dropped the charges against you both. But I need help. Therapy. Maybe. Dad's letters, they gutted me. Knowing you were the golden child. The one he wrote poetry for while I got postcards. The vulnerability cracked something in Brandon. You could have said that months ago. Instead of the videos, the lies. I was drowning. Tyler's eyes flicked to me, appraising. Evan, you're good for him. Better than me. Just. Don't let him run. It was olive branch, jagged-edged. We left with a fragile pact, Brandon agreeing to family counseling, Tyler to his own reckoning. Driving home, snow swirling, I felt the weight lift. Tentative. Think it'll stick? Brandon squeezed my hand. Gotta try. For all of us. January thawed the ice, but not the undercurrents. Work picked up, spring renaissance looming, and Brandon landed a gig designing for a Cincinnati startup. Roots digging in. We talked futures, a place together, maybe near the river, with a workshop for my carvings and space for his drafts. But shadows lingered. Anonymous emails trickled. He's lying again. Check his email. I resisted. Trust a muscle we flex daily. The climax brewed in February. Valentine's shadow long. We'd planned low-key. Dinner at Grater's for black raspberry chip. Walks under heart-shaped balloons, but Tyler texted Brandon. Emergency. Meet at the old mill. Alone. The mill, abandoned relic on the riverbank, where we'd shared our first real talk months back. Locks and all. Don't, I begged, gripping his arm. It's a trap. Has to be faced. His kiss was fierce. A vow. Wait here. I'll text. He didn't. Hours ticked. My texts unread. Panic clawing. I drove anyway. Tires crunching gravel to the mill's rusted gates. Floodlights from a distant barge painting the scene ghostly. Inside, shadows danced, Brandon's voice echoing. Arguing with. Tyler? No, another figure. Slighter. Hooded. I crept closer. Heart thunderous. Piecing voices. You think you could just waltz back? After what you did to Sarah. The hood dropped. Sarah? Brandon's college ex. The one from the abortion shadow. She faced him. Eyes wild. A knife glinting in her hand. not assault, but desperation. "You killed our baby," she shrieked. Lunging, Brandon dodged, pleading. It was mutual. We were kids. The pieces slammed. Tyler's doing, stirring her up. Anonymous tip to drag her from hiding. A final sabotage. Jealousy incarnate, pitting ghosts against us. I burst in, yelling stop. She whirled, knife slashing wild, grazing my arm, blood blooming hot. Brandon tackled her, pinning gentle but firm. As I called 911, voice shaking. Sirens wailed, lights fracturing the dark. And Sarah crumpled, sobbing. He promised forever. Then nothing. Cops swarmed, statements blurring in the adrenaline crash. Tyler confessed later, interrogated, broken, admitting he'd contacted her, fed the rage, all to shatter Brandon. Wanted him to hurt like I did. Motive, a brother's warped love, twisted into destruction. In the ER, stitches pulling my skin, Brandon held my good hand, tears carving tracks. "You saved me." Again, we saved each other. The scar would fade, but the bond? Ironclad. Sarah got help, counseling, not cuffs, and Tyler faced charges anew. Harassment, endangerment. Blood ties strained, but Brandon visited once. In the visitor's room, emerging lighter. Forgiveness isn't absolution. It's freedom. Spring bloomed, dogwoods pink against blue skies. And we moved forward apartment hunt. Mom's blessing for a summer wedding. Small in ours. But the twist lingered in quiet moments. What ifs whispered at dawn. One night, porch steps under stars. Brandon turned to me. That first lock, it wasn't stuck. I jammed it. Want an excuse to meet you. I laughed, pulling him close. Best jam ever. Love's no fairy tale. It's splinters and storms. Choices that scar. But in the heartland, under American flags and river winds, we chose each other. Daily. Fiercely. Summer unfurled lazy and golden. The Ohio heat, wave, turning sidewalks to skillets and the river to steam. Brandon and I settled into our new rhythm. A one-bedroom walk-up in North Side, exposed brick walls begging for his prints. A bay window for my workbench where half-finished shelves gathered dust like dreams deferred. Rent split 50-50. We pooled for thrift store finds, a velvet couch that swallowed us whole. A record player spinning Springsteen and the Pretenders. Voices raw with Midwest soul. Morning started with his coffee, black as tar, and my oatmeal laced with raisins. His tease about my grandpa breakfast met with a playful shove. The wedding talk was tentative at first, broached over beers on our tiny balcony overlooking a graffiti-tagged alley. Nothing big, Brandon said, tracing patterns in the condensation. Justice of the peace. Mom there. Maybe Mrs. Hargrove with her chili. I nodded, throat tight. Vows felt like tempting fate, but his hand in mine grounded it. We set a date for Labor Day. Rings simple bands we'd engrave ourselves. Unlocked. Tyler's shadow receded. His plea deal landing probation and mandatory therapy. Court-ordered reckonings in a fluorescent office downtown. Brandon went weekly, emerging with war stories. He cried today. About Dad, empathy bloomed slow, a garden we tended cautious. No full forgiveness, but a bridge, rickety but standing. Sarah vanished back to her life in Toledo. A card arriving once, healing. Thanks for not hating Dut, and we let it go. Ghosts exorcised. Work steadied. My promotion to assistant manager at the store. Stocking runs to supplier warehouses in blue-collar camaraderie. Brandon's designs pitching for a local brewery. Hops and labels that screamed craft cool. We volunteered at the community center. Him teaching digital art to at-risk kids. Me leading woodworking workshops where tiny hands sanded edges smooth. Look at you, mister. manto, lgbtq, ruffling my hair post-class, pride swelling in his eyes. But depth demands descent, and our first real fracture came in July, heat lightning flickering over the horizon like bad omens. Mom called during a rare night off, her voice edged with something brittle. Evan, the church ladies, they're talking. About the fight, the lifestyle. Pause. Heavy. Father Mike asked if you're still welcome at Mass. The old wound tore fresh, Catholic guilt. Sacrament and sin tangled like rosary beads. I'd lapsed years ago, but her faith was anchor, and now it dragged. Ma, it's us. Not a phase. I know, honey, but it's hard. For all of us. She hung with a sigh, and I paced the living room. Floorboards, groaning accusation. Brandon found me there, head in hands. Your mom. Yeah, I spilled it. The judgment seeping like humidity. He listened, then pulled me down. His touch a bomb. We'll show them. Live loud. We did Pride that month. Rainbow flags snapping in the wind-down Vine Street. Hand in hand through the parade. Confetti raining. Bass thumping from floats. Strangers cheered, beads clacking around our necks. And for blocks, we were invincible. A photo caught us mid-laugh, sweaty, joyous, splashed on a local blog. Local love in the Queen City. Mom texted it later. Handsome boys. Proud. Cracks mending. Slow as seasons. The climax we dodged reared unexpected. A betrayal from within. August bank hot. Air conditioners wheezing. When Brandon's laptop pinged with an email, anonymous. Subject, truth about your fiancé. Attached, screenshots of my text to the bar guy that New Year's. The one I'd almost strayed with in whiskey haze. Want to get out of here? My words. Damning in black and white. Panic iced my veins. Who? Not Tyler, monitored now. But the timestamp. The angle. Someone close. I confronted Brandon that night. Dinner forgotten on the stove. Spaghetti sauce bubbling unattended. Did you see this? His face shuddered. Hurt flickering. Evan. What? It's mine. From that night I almost cheated. Back when Tyler had us reeling. Shame burned. Confession I'd buried under months of building. I didn't. Walked away. But now it's out there. He scrolled, jaw tightening. This isn't from me. But, shit, realization dawned. Dark. The community center. One of the kids' parents, Mark, the dad from my class. He's ex-military, conservative streak. Overheard us talking once. Made a snide about alternative families. Must have hacked her. God. Stalked. Betrayal stung. Intimate and insidious. Not blood. But community. The very network we'd leaned on. Mark. With his firm handshakes and God bless sign-offs. Weaponizing vulnerability. We traced it. IP from a local cafe. But the damage? Screenshots forwarded to Mom. To Brandon's client. Whispers rippling. I broke that night. Sobs racking on the balcony. City hum indifferent below. I'm poison. Can't even trust my own damn impulses. Brandon knelt. Fierce. No. You're human. Flawed. Fighting like me. We don't quit. His arms encircled. Unyielding. And in the breakdown, we rebuilt. Blocking. Reporting. A cease and desist drafted pro bono from a Pride ally lawyer. The hearing was anticlimactic. Mark's denial crumbling under evidence. Job loss looming as consequences bit. No charges, but apology emailed. Terse, misguided. Won't happen again. We didn't reply. Some doors locked for good. Labor Day dawned crisp. Leaves hinting gold. The ceremony was ours. Riverside Park. Ohio's flow witness. Mom beaming in her sundress. Mrs. Hargrove dabbing eyes over a thermos of chili. Vows exchanged under an oak. Rings sliding warm, unlocked etched deep. I choose you, Brandon said, voice steady, through storms and splinters. Every day, I echoed. Kiss ceiling, crowd whooping soft, intimate circle of chosen family. After, pie at a picnic table, laughter free. But humanism whispers, no tidy bows. Tyler wrote once more, from rehab, learning. Thanks for the chance. We filed it away, neutral. Years later, scars faded, mine a thin line on my arm. Hearts deeper. We built a house with a porch like Mrs. Hargrove's, kids from fostering, art and wood mingling. Conflicts came, fights over chores, fears of fading sparks, but we fixed them, tools at hand. That shocking twist? Not the lock, or the knife, but us, two guys from Heartland Shadows. Choosing light. Messy, real, American as apple pie with a bite. And damn if it wasn't worth every twist.